The Mansabdari system was introduced by Akbar for the administration of his vast empire. Mansab means rank and Dar means to hold. Therefore, Mansabdar means a rank holder. It is said to be one of the major pillars of the Mughal administration, particularly during its heyday. It lasted in some form or the other till the 19th century.
Under the Mughals, it started as a function or a duty, but gradually it turned into mean rank of the noble. Now, in the early days of the Mughal Empire, as well as in some form till the middle of the 17th century, there were two problems which were involved. The first problem was that this measure is supposed to cover all the officers of the Mughal Empire. But we see that it does not cover all the officers. Some of the officers are not called Mansabdars. The second problem was that each Mansabdar must have a rank as well as a contingent of sawar or horsemen. But we see that all officers do not have a rank, or if they do have a rank, they do not have a contingent. So what happens is that sometimes the person who is a civil officer or even a poet is getting money from the military payroll but is not participating in the battle at all. This is nothing new. In the Delhi Sultanate, some of the poets like Amir Khosrow had received money from the military payroll, but they did not participate in battle.
When Babur came, he allotted almost 3/4 of his conquest either to the old masters or to the new ones. They were given an area and they were responsible for the executive as well as the financial aspects concerning that area. They were called Wajidars and the system was known as Waja.
Humayun did not continue this system. He divided the inhabitants of the Mughal Empire into three broad divisions. One of the division was including the Qazis and the judicial officers were the officials like Umara, ministers, other officials as well. But this all began to change from the time of Akbar. Actually, contrary to public opinion, Mansabdari system did not develop very suddenly. It has a long period of evolution, and Professor Shirin Musvi of Aligarh Muslim University has written an excellent article in the Royal Asiatic Society Journal of London in 1981 showing these experiments, showing the stages of the evolution. We can briefly summarize her views. The first stage, which she says, starts from 1566 or 65, and this stage remains more or less stagnant for the last 10 years, that is from the accession of Akbar till 1566-67, in which there is practically no rule of Mansab. There is no size of contingent fixed. The salary was arbitrarily determined, and the Mansabdars, they were not called Mansabdars then, those people, they could have their own way of doing things. The second stage starts from 1567 onwards, when an attempt was made to fix up the size of the contingent according to the salary of the Mansabdar and on the basis of the collection of the revenue of the Jaigir assigned to him. The third stage, which is the most important one, starts from 1573-74, when a Mansabdar was given a certain number. This number determines the position of the Mansabdar as well as the number of cavalry he will have to maintain along with other beasts of animals. A certain amount of money was given advance to him, and this was called Barwardi, and the final payment was made after the branding of the horses. That is, his horses were marked, which is called branding, or in Persian, dag. This dag was given, then the final adjustment of the salary was made. The last stage, which finalized or formalized the Mansabdari system, came in 1595-96. Here, at this stage, Akbar gave two numbers to the Mansabdar. The first number is called Zat, and the second number is called Sawar. This means that the person will have a certain position, a clear position in the Mughal system of administration. It will determine his position in the court, and the Sawar number means that he will have to maintain a certain number of cavalry. His salary as well as his other allowances are dependent on this maintenance of this. Now, this position has created, these two numbers had created quite a deal of controversy at one point of time, which has now been resolved. In the early 20th century, the British historian William Irwin, he said that two numbers means that the Mansabdar has to maintain two contingents of cavalry. A little later, Abdul Aziz, the Indian scholar, he said that the statement of Irwin or the view of Irwin is not correct. The first number means his position, second number means the Sawar. In recent days, in 1966, M. Athar Ali, in his book Some Aspects of Mughal Nobility under Aurangzeb, had clarified the position and practically confirmed the views of Abdul Aziz. He said that first position is the personal. It determines his rank, it determines his salary, and it is called Zat, Z-A-T. The second one, which is called Sawar, determines the number of contingents he would keep and the money that he would keep for this kind of contingent. He has also given the salary that we shall see later. This suggests that the Mansabdari system has finally evolved around 1595-96, and it is not a sudden one. It has developed through long period of experiment in which there was the struggle between the crown and the nobility. But by 95-96, the struggle was practically over.
Abul Fazal, Badauni and others give detailed accounts of the position of the Mansabdars. There are some differences in the authors, but that is not essential to note at this stage.
The problem of the salary is this. The Zat rank, that is the first rank, first number, is counted in one way, is determined in one way, and the second number, the second rank, the Sawar rank, is determined in another way. completely opposite to the first rank. For example, the Zat rank is considered separate rank, meaning that one rank has no relation with the other Zat rank. For example, if a Mansabdar is in the rank of 1000 Zat, he will get a certain amount of salary. And if he is promoted to 2000 Zat, it doesn't mean that he will get double the salary of the earlier one. That is, there is no arithmetical proportion between the two ranks of the Zat system, because each Zat rank is considered a separate one, for which separate salary is fixed. In case of the Sawar rank, the salary is determined on arithmetical proportion and therefore is totally contrary to the first one. In case of the Sawar rank, it is considered a contract rate and the salary is determined on the unit of the Sawar. For example, a contingent of 10, for example, is considered a unit, and the salary is determined on the basis of this unit per horse multiplied by the rank. For example, if there are 1000 horses and if the salary per horse is 8, then one multiplies this 1000 into 8 with the rank. That is, the rank and the unit is multiplied. So therefore, the salary determination in the Mughal Empire of the Mansabdar depends on two different systems, contrary to each other. Now, in case of the Sawar rank, it must be stated that Sawar rank is either equal to the Zat rank or less than the Zat rank, but is never more than the Zat rank. That is, the second number is always less or equal to the first number. There were exceptions in the last years of Aurangzeb, actually starting more from the time of Shah Jahan, when the Sawar rank has become more than the Zat rank due to historical circumstances, due to the crisis of the Mansabdari system, the crisis of the Mughal Empire.
There are two ways to pay the Mansabdars. One is by cash, and this is called the Nakdi system. There were very few who were paid in cash. The other is the assignment of the Jagir. It is important to note that it is not the assignment of the land itself, but the assignment of the revenues of the land. A Mansabdar's progeny did not inherit the land or the Jagir. Each Mansabdar was appointed, promoted, or dismissed exclusively by the emperor.
Therefore, this assignment of the revenue of the land must be equal to the salary of the Mansabdar. But as we shall see, in practice, this does not happen. This actually did not happen, creating problems for the Mughal administration. Now, in this system, where the Jaigir is assigned, he is called the Jaigirdar, and we shall see later the Jaigirdari system and go into the details of it. But the problem remains that the Jaigirdari system is based on the estimate of revenue to be collected in future. And the Mansabdar is placed in that Jaigir on the hope that such amount of revenue he could collect. This estimate of revenue of the Jaigir is called Jama, and it is always calculated till almost the death of Akbar in copper coins, in dam. It is called a dam, which is 48 dam into 1 is equal to 1 rupee. So it's a very highly inflated number, and therefore it was called Jamadami. The term has continued even later when the revenue was calculated in terms of rupees from the second decade of the 17th century. Now, the Mansabdar reaches his Jaigir and finds that his collection, which is called in Persian document as Hasil, Hasil, this collection is not equal to the Jama, it is much less. Therefore, he is always in arrear of the salary. So that is one problem that has dogged the Mughal Empire till the end of its days. And it has not been properly resolved, although there had been attempts to resolve this. But far more serious was that if the Mansabdar does not have the salary in full, can he maintain the number of horses he was supposed to maintain? Obviously, he cannot, and he does not. And therefore, there were many frauds and difficulties.
To avoid these fraud and difficulties, Akbar started what is known as Dag and Chehara. Dag is a mark put on the horse by branding it after inspection, and Chehara is the descriptive role of the soldier.
As I have said earlier in other lectures, that the feature of the Mughal administration is they always try to make a uniform system of administration, and contradictorily, they make certain compromises to suit the local needs, to suit the historical purposes. So therefore, there is always a contradiction within the Mughal administrative system. But whatever it is, the Mansabdar now finds that he has less money to keep the horses. Meanwhile, he will have to fight and he will have to maintain a certain number of horses. But the problem is that the Sawar rank cannot be more than the Zat rank. Or in other words, a commander of say 500 Zat cannot be easily promoted even if he is an excellent fighter or a good commander to say 2000 Zat. That will create commotion within the Mughal nobility. But to fight effectively, particularly during the later years of Aurangzeb, when he was involved in Rajput and Maratha wars, he must have a certain number of contingents, more than what is sanctioned. So how to solve this?
The problem was solved by a reform popularly known as Do Aspa or Si Aspa. Aspa, as we know, is horse. Do means two, and Si is three. So the reform came to be known as 2-horse, 3-horse solution. What did it consist of?
In a normal 1000 Sawar rank, that is if there is 1000 cavalry, the number of horses would be 2200. The additional horses are given to some people, not to all. Now, if the emperor wants to increase the strength of this Sawar, this person, the earlier method was to increase his Zat rank, which will immediately create commotion and problem among the Mughal nobility. many will feel that they were being deprived. So to solve this problem, what Jahangir started was to make this reform of do aspa, si aspa, 2-3 horse. This means that a portion of the normal horses would be doubled with double pay. His Jat rank remains as it is. Out of 2,200 horses or 1,000 cavalry, for example, it is decided that 100 horse would be do aspa, si aspa. That is, instead of 1,000 horse, he will have 2,000 horse. Or instead of 100 horse, he will have 200 horse. And he will have a double pay with double obligation. So 2 horse, 3 horse means a portion of the Sawar rank is increased to double with double pay and double obligation. This was first started under Jahangir's reign, and it continued during the time of Shah Jahan. By 1686, that is almost the second half of Aurangzeb, we find that out of 486 Mansabdars, 68 Mansabdars were holding this do aspa, si aspa rank. Now this creates no problem with the older nobility because his Jat rank is not improved. He does not get a very good place in the court. He remains where he was.
Similarly, an attempt was made to increase the Zat rank, but this would create problem among the nobility. So a system called Mashrut was introduced.
This Mashrut means that the Zat rank is increased to a higher Zat rank for only a temporary purpose for a particular post. For example, if there is a thana or if there is a town of there is a Faujdari where there is a very serious problem, the person in charge of that Faujdari or the Faujdar, he has been given a certain rank, his rank is now increased, and this increase will remain so long he will remain in that post. If he is transferred, which is normally after every 3 years on an average, then he will lose that mashrut, that is higher rank. So therefore, the attempts are always made by the Mughal emperors to solve the problem, but the problem still remained. Now in case of salary, therefore, this problem is connected with the rank. This problem is connected more with the Jaigir system. As I have said, that there is always a difference between the revenue estimate, that is how much revenue could be collected, and the hasil, that is the revenue actually collected. Now, how to solve that problem? What Shah Jahan did, this problem came up more before the time of Shah Jahan. But what Shah Jahan did was to introduce another reform.
But before we consider the reform of Shah Jahan, we have to note that there was a crisis in the Mansabdari system. In fact, there was a crisis in the whole of the Mughal Empire already at the time of Jahangir.
During Jahangir's time, the administration had become very much lax, as we all know. And the number of Mansabdars had increased tremendously. Earlier, there was a view among the English historians, particularly W.H. Morland, who stated that the reduction of the Mansabdars came in 1646. Now, on the basis of the statement of Morland, some Indian historians had suggested that the reduction had come during the early years of Jahangir. Now, Irfan Habib, in a very beautiful article on Mansabdari system, had shown this is not correct. Between 1618 and 1631, Jahangir died in 1627. Shah Jahan came after that. So, in the early years of Shah Jahan and in the later years of Jahangir, the number of Mansabdars practically doubled itself. The Sawar rank by this time increased 3/4. Now, the immediate problem was a very much strain on the Mughal economy. And to relieve that strain, what can be done? The only method, seems to them, is to decrease the salary of the Mansabdars, both Zat and Sawar. And that is what Jahangir did, which was hinted by Morland regarding Shah Jahan in 1646, actually was done by Jahangir before that. The salary of the Mansabdars was reduced. Now, naturally, this would create a problem in the Mughal Empire. The Mansabdars would revolt. But the advantage was that on the one hand, the number of Zat ranks had increased, and on the other hand, their salaries were reduced. This, once again, a very and totally contradictory situation. Now, the Mansabdars did not make much of a problem, because the older Mansabdars got their promotions, they went into higher ranks and they went into higher salary. But here is the crux of this situation. Irfan Habib had shown that although they are getting higher salary in paper, in reality they are getting much less. Why? Because by this time, by the 1650s, the revenue of the Mughal Empire had increased tremendously. So therefore, there should be an increase of the Zat system, there should be an increase in the Mansabdari system. Number of Mansabdars should be increased, which they did. But this increase of the revenue, partly due to new conquest of new areas, etc., but mostly due to the rise of prices. Higher the price rise, higher the revenue collection. That we shall see later why in the Jagirdari system. But here we may merely say that higher the prices, higher is the revenue collection. Now, if therefore, if the revenue is collected at a higher level, that is, more revenue is collected, this does not mean that the Mansabdar is getting more money. This only means that in reality Mansabdar is getting same or perhaps less money. So therefore, in the Mughal system, in the Mughal Mansabdari system, the crisis was not really resolved. And therefore, as we shall see now, in case of Shah Jahan, he had to take some measures to solve this problem. This we shall see in the next lecture.